How's everyone doing? Today I want to talk about something that's very close to my heart. It is something that I've gone through as a child. It's something that I see children go through every single day. I really hope that this topic gains momentum and we can all weigh in on how we can improve the situation. I want to talk about how adults passively enable bullying, how adults passively enable systemic injustice and oppression towards children, particularly. And I'm going to do that through a case study. So bear with me and let's start. I'm going to ask you a question, right? Like when you were a child, have you ever had a relative randomly come and tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing? Especially pertaining to your weight, your skin color, your academic record. Yeah, join the club. We often have people like relatives, friends who come over to our houses and then suddenly they think that it is their fucking right to just tell us what we're supposed to be doing. When I was a child, I would have relatives come over and tell my mother, The- give her lemon and honey water every morning, Shanaz. She's going to lose weight and not good to have so much weight. Why do you go out in the sun so much, beta? Because I'm not a vampire, Shivana auntie. So what happens is when you have these relatives, and I understand that adults usually don't stand up to them because as very typical of the Indian familiar system, we want to present a very hum saath saath hai front, like it's Bagban all the way to Death Bitch. But if you take a closer look at that, like how the Indian family system is, it's dysfunctional at its core. It's fucking disintegrating, dude. But anyway, that's a topic for another video. So imagine this, like you're a child, right? And you're in your house, which is supposed to be a safe space. Your house is where you are physically, mentally, emotionally, and sexually safe. Your house is also, unfortunately, the place where either one or all four are violated. So anyway, you're a child in your house chilling, and relative has suddenly come over and is like, "Oh, so much weight she's put on, huh? Where she went during the summer holidays? Huh? What you ate, beta?" Now, what the child feels is that he may not understand what's happening. He may not understand fat phobia. He may not understand that, he's being bullied for being fat or being dark skinned or not being good in studies. But what the child feels is that he feels uncomfortable. So, this safe space has suddenly become tainted, right? He's feeling uncomfortable. He's feeling flustered in his own home. Now the relative leaves, and the mother, father, elder brother, the adult primary caregiver comes to them, and they're like, what are you doing? That's it. That's it. And they don't even acknowledge what has happened. The child is there sitting, constantly feeling flustered, and they don't do it. Or this is what they're going to do. Shamana auntie, no, but she just says things like that. Chachu didn't mean it. I'm going to come, let's go for a drive. You want a piece of chocolate? Yo, there's some leftover food. Here's what you're doing. When you say that that person didn't mean it, or that's how they are, you are gaslighting the child into believing that what they're feeling is not right. Instead of you giving them a space to validate their emotions, to acknowledge that, hey, you know what, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Tell me why you're feeling uncomfortable. Talk to me. Instead of doing that, you are making the child feel that what they're thinking is not correct. And you're making excuses for somebody else's bad behavior, no matter how close this person is, right? What will happen is that child is going to grow up to be a highly underconfident adult, always second guessing their choices, always thinking that probably they're thinking wrong. So when they are much later in their adulthood, in work settings or in relationships where they are emotionally abused, verbally abused, physically abused, sexually abused, they are going to constantly feel, maybe it's in my head, maybe that person didn't mean it, he's just having a bad day, or he said it in anger, or she reacted that way because she's going through a lot. This is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when you have two polar opposing thoughts in your head. I ate 7,000 calories worth of fast food. I know eating 7,000 calories worth of fast food is not good. These both polar opposing thoughts that go in your head is leads to a lot of dysfunctional attributes in ourselves. So when the child grows up to be an adult and they are in a relationship where they're not seen, they're not heard, they are not emotionally validated, they're going to think that this is what relationship feels like. You know why? Because this feels familiar. Oh, I can't leave this abusive person, I can't leave this emotionally unavailable person because he feels like home. If your home was dysfunctional, if your home was where you were not allowed or where you didn't get the space to voice your opinions, to voice your concerns, then honey, you need to change your idea of home. Because just because something is familiar does not mean something is right for you. The second thing that you're doing with the child is when you say, let's go for a drive, here's a slab of chocolate, here's some leftover food, is you're teaching that child to distract themselves instead of sitting with their emotions, sitting with their problems, sitting with their feelings, and pondering over it, right? This distraction mechanism right now, it's a drive, it's a piece of chocolate, it's food, it's something on TV, is going to turn into drug abuse, is going to turn into alcohol abuse, is going to turn into rampant, meaningless sex. I'm not slut shaming anyone. If it's consensual, power to you. But if you're manipulating someone else in the name of love, relationship, and marriage, just so that you can get sex because you are unable to sit with your emotions, yeah, then that's a problem that you have to figure out. And it will turn it even get staying hyper focused on being successful, uh, being like a workaholic. These are distraction mechanisms, and you've planted the seed in the child to distract themselves instead of sitting and validating their feelings. This is how adults passively enable bullying. This is how adults passively enable children to grow into broken adults. Let's take this situation. What could you have done as a parent? First thing first, if you go to the child and be like, okay, I know this has happened, now open up to me. Not going to happen. It's very typical of the Indian familiar system that we are not emotionally expressive. We are not. So you've not set that premise, you've not built that sort of a bond where the child can come to you and be like, this is bothering me. Like, I didn't feel okay because of this. If he does open up to you, that's then you deal with it, and then you validate the feeling, then you tell them that their self-worth is a lot more than what this person thinks, right? But if they do not open up to you, this is my suggestion. I would love to hear what your opinion is on this. But if they do not open up to you, I would, if I were in the place of that parent, I would sit and I would talk about my own issue. So you go to the child's room, right? And he's sort of like, I don't know, the child was like, he's reading a book or he's playing on his phone, he's doing whatever jack shit he's doing. And then you try to strike a conversation, not happening. So you start talking about your own experience. When I was a child, and he's not even acknowledging you, like, fuck this shit. And I used to play football, and then like this one day I fell and my front teeth broke. Like, I had no front teeth, and the child's like, "You have teeth now," and he's still not answering, right? He's just like, but he's listening to you. A part of him is listening to you, and everyone would tease me. I would get teased at school, and people would make fun of me, and I would cry myself to sleep at night, and I felt so helpless. I thought no one would understand because I was the only one who looked so different. So when there's just one stupid fucking example, but when you talk about your own challenges, right, how you've gone through something, how someone else has gone through something, what you're doing indirectly, even if the child is not listening to you, is you're instilling in them that you're not alone. Understand that, and I've been there. Any child who's made to feel different for whatever reason, their weight, their height, their skin color, their lack of performance in school, feels this primary emotion, and this is the worst emotion to feel. It's helplessness. It's helplessness. A child feels helpless. The child is feeling helpless. And dude, it's so sad. It breaks my heart thinking that a child is going to sleep at night crying and worried and anxious because he doesn't know whom to turn to. Because in his mind he's like, no one's going to understand. And what is it that I tell them? I don't even know what's happening to me. That feeling of helplessness I have felt for years. It robs you of your childhood. It just it robs you of your childhood. And if you can in some way make sure that a child doesn't feel helpless, make sure that a child, and every child deserves that. Every child deserves to feel seen, heard, validated, acknowledged, and appreciated. And if you do that, I think it will take away a lot of the sting from bullying and going through those traumatic experiences that shape them into being the kind of adult that you want. Because as adults, we are nothing but a series of the exposures and experiences that we go through. And if you're going to take the back seat and let the child go through shit so that he can become a shittier adult, I think a part of the responsibility is on you. A part of the responsibility is on all of us. All right, people. So this was my 2 cents on how, just staying back. I think it was Martin Luther King who said that it's not the injustice of the bad people that affect more, but the silence of the good people. I think I got it twisted. But yeah, if you have the power, And as adults, you may not be a parent, but as an adult, you're going to come in contact with children that you have the power to influence and change the lives of, right? If you can understand that, if you can make a child feel seen, heard, appreciated, validated, and be emotionally there for them, dude, you will be doing the child a favor. Because when I was a child, if one person, when I went through 10 years of depression and years of eating disorders and clinical anxiety, I didn't even know what the fuck that was I was going through. If one adult would have come to me and just said, "You okay? Talk to me," my life would have been so much different. And I just hope that we as a community can do that for a future generation. This I don't want to sound preachy, but I really meet a lot of children, and I really see that sense of helplessness, and it breaks my heart seeing them. So let me know your thoughts, and let me know your opinions. I really want to see the conversation going on, and I welcome your opinions, even if you want to disagree.